In this video, we're going to go over section 2.1, solving equations and inequalities. Make sure as you guys are watching this video, you're following along with the worksheet. So as I said, we are solving equations. We're looking for the solutions, and the way that we do that is by performing the inverse operations to isolate the variable. Let's go ahead and jump into example 1. So we're trying to solve for x. There's a lot going on here, but I think a lot of us are familiar with the process of starting with the distributive property if we see parentheses, then transitioning to combining like terms, and then using those inverse operations. So I do see parentheses. I'm going to start by distributing. Sorry if you hear this loud noise. My kids are in the background. Alright, as I was saying, I have to distribute the 5 to both terms. I get 5x plus 500. Remember, when you distribute, you are multiplying. Minus 10x plus 12x plus 33 is equal to 596. So that first step, all I did was distribute. Now I'm going to look for my like terms. I see 3 terms of x's, 5x, negative 10x, and 12x. 5 and 12 make 17. 17 minus 10 is going to give us 7x. Okay, and then now my my constant term, so 533 put together is going to give me 533. That's a positive number. And that's still equal to 596. Okay, so I combined like terms there, and now I'm going to try to isolate the x. So I want to move the 533 to the other side by subtracting it. I'm left with 7x is equal to 63. Final step, divide by 7. So x is equal to 9. Alright, go ahead and give number 2 a try, and then resume the video when you're ready to check your answer. Alright, hopefully you're ready for your answer. It should be 39. I'm going to go ahead and distribute, and then I'll talk about what I have over on the right. So I'm going to work it out right now with you. So if I distribute the 1/3, I get 2/3 x minus 19 plus 2 minus, now I'm distributing this 1/3, so plus 2 minus 1/3 x equals -4. So all I did in that step was distribute. I'm going to combine my like terms, so I'm looking at my x terms. 2/3 and -1/3 makes just 1/3. And then now I'm looking at my constants. -19 and 2, -17, still equal to -4. Add 17 to both sides. 1/3 x equals 13. Multiply by 3. That's how we get rid of this fraction. You can multiply by its reciprocal. In this case, we're just going to multiply by 3. That's the inverse of 1/3. And I get x is equal to 39, and that's what I have in the work on the right. So if you're asking, what did I do with this work on the right? Well, I noticed that the problem on the left-hand side, both sets of parentheses were multiplied by 1/3. So I started off with actually multiplying by its reciprocal, 3. And by doing that, when I multiply this whole side, because remember, if you multiply something, the whole side has to be multiplied by it. If I multiply that whole side by 3, it actually is going to eliminate the thirds, and I'm just going to be left with those parentheses. So I had the 2x minus 57 and the 6 minus x equals, and on the other side I have -12. So there's just another route for solving that same problem, and I just want to remind you that there's not only one way. A lot of times there's there's multiple paths to get to that same solution when you have multi-step equations. Alright, let's take a look at example 3. Example 3 is a literal equations. A literal equation means that you have multiple variables and you're trying to isolate for one of the variables. So you can see in example 3 we got an m and an n, and we're going to try to start off by solving for m. So let's see if we can get m by itself. Okay, so I'm going to first, since this left-hand side is being divided by 4, let's get rid of that. Let's multiply both sides by 4. And we get 2m minus 4n is equal to 48. Now let's get rid of the negative 4n since I'm trying to get m by itself. So I'm adding 4n to both sides, but we all know that that's just going to eliminate this and make a positive 4n on the right-hand side. 4n plus 48. Now let's divide everything by 2 to get m by itself. And since that simplifies nicely, I'm going to go ahead and simplify that to 2n plus 24. So that's what m is equal to. Alright, I want you guys to pause the video, and I want you to try to solve for n right beside this one. Okay, so see if you can isolate the n. Okay, I got n is equal to 1/2 m minus 12. If you need to take a look at that work, you can pause the video and do that. Example 4. Write an equation and solve. The diameter of Earth is 828 kilometers, less than twice the diameter of Mars. If Earth has a diameter of 12,756 kilometers, what is the diameter of Mars? So we're going to start off by writing an equation that represents our situation. Okay, so the diameter of Earth. Since we're talking about two diameters here, I'm just going to use the letter E to represent this. So Earth, or the diameter of Earth, is 828 less than twice the diameter of Mars. So when we see this word is, we're thinking equals. When we see the term less than, that means we're subtracting it from. So I'm subtracting 828 from. And then when I see twice the diameter of Mars, 2 times Mars. So I'm going to go, or 2 times the diameter of Mars. So I'll go 2m for m representing the diameter of Mars. So now we've got an equation set up that's going to help us find the solution a lot faster. If Earth has the diameter of 12,756, what's the diameter of Mars? So now I can just substitute that in. 12,756 equals 2m minus 828. Alright, now let's just go ahead and solve for m. Pause the video and give that a try. Alright, hopefully you're getting 6,792, and that's equal to the diameter of Mars. Okay, let's move on. So on this back page, we're going to start talking about inequalities. So to get started, let's just make sure that we understand how to graph an inequality on a number line and how to represent that. So if we wanted to show x is greater than 2, this is just a one variable inequality, meaning we just have this number line. We don't have our coordinate plane. So if I showed where 0 was, and then I can show where 2 is located. If it's greater than 2, it's all numbers to the right of 2 that does not include 2. So I left an open circle there. Okay? If it's greater than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle. If it's less than, this is negative 2. So less than an open circle. And everything to the left would be a solution to that inequality. And then this last one here, negative 2, x is less than or equal to negative 2, so it's going to be a closed circle. And everything to the left of that would be a part of the solution set. So we're going to solve and graph the inequality. Inequalities are solved just like equations using inverse operations. The one difference is if you multiply or divide by a negative. We've talked about this already this year. What's going to happen is the inequality symbol is going to be reversed or flipped. So just don't forget that. Okay, let's allow you guys to try examples 5 and 6, and then jump back in when you're ready. So give them a shot, and then after that, resume the video and see if we have the same answer. For number 5, I got n is less than or equal to 15. You can see my work there. And then I did go ahead and graph the inequality that represents that. I graphed the number line that represents that inequality. So I just created a number line. I put a filled in or a closed circle at 15 since it does equal it. And then I put an arrow pointing to the left representing all numbers less than 15. Number 6, I didn't really like that problem, but this is how I would do this one. I would actually just start off by simplifying, because I have 12 over 3, so that reduces down to 4. And then I divided both sides by 4. And then I got negative r plus 1 is greater than negative 4. I subtracted 1 from both sides and got negative r is greater than negative 5. And then I did divide by a negative 1 to get the r by itself, and I got r is less than 5. Remember, that's not the only way to do it. Some of you guys probably started by just multiplying by 3, which is fine. Do remember, though, the only time you flip the inequality sign is when you multiply or divide by a negative. So if you just multiply by 3, you're not changing the sign, only when you divide or multiply by a negative number. Okay, let's jump down to our last one. Example 7, write an inequality, then solve. The recommended daily intake of calcium for teens is 1,300 milligrams. Jake gets 237 milligrams of calcium from a multivitamin he takes each morning and 302 milligrams from each glass of skim milk that he drinks. How many glasses of milk would Jake need to drink to meet the recommendations? See if you can write an inequality that represents this situation, and then resume the video when you're ready to compare it with mine. Alright, for my inequality, I have 237 plus 302 G representing the glasses of milk, and that needs to be greater than or equal to the recommendation of 1,300 milligrams. Okay, so now I'm going to solve for G and figure out how many glasses would it take. Subtract our 237. Getting 1,063. Divide both sides by 302. I'm not dividing by a negative, so that inequality does not change. And I'm getting 332.1875. So in context of this problem, it says G would need to be greater than or equal to 332. So if he drinks 333, that would be the amount of glasses he would need, because 332 would not quite be enough. Okay, there is your notes for our first lesson, 2.1. Hopefully you guys are finding this video helpful, and then tomorrow we'll practice these in class. Thanks for watching.